All right, so welcome back. Today, what I'm actually going to do, well, my initial plan was to give you an update on a monitor that I've actually already reviewed because I've had it now for a couple of years, maybe a few years, I don't even know. Uh, and it's actually the Andycine T7. So I reached out to Andycine about really firmware because I went to the website first to check so I could actually update the monitor and then actually do an update on it. So update the firmware. And I couldn't find any. So I reached out to them just to ask the question, hey, do you guys actually have any firmware for this device? And they replied that they did not. However, they asked me if I wanted to review the C7, which is a newer variant of that monitor. Now, granted, it is a little bit different because it is a touchscreen, higher price point, and they said, hey, we'll just send it to you. No strings attached. They're not paying me or anything like that. So I figured what I would do is I would give you an update on the T7, and then I would talk about the C7. And, just because I could, I threw in one of my other monitors, which is the Ninja Atomos 5, because I can record on that to kind of do like a mini comparison of them as well. And, starting out really with the T7. The T7 is it really probably it is the cheapest of the bunch. It's not a touch screen like the C7 or the Ninja Atomos, but it's a really great field monitor. And this really will be my update. I haven't had any issues with it. I wasn't looking for firmware because there was a problem. I just wanted to make sure I had the latest and greatest software. But, as far as I'm concerned, it's actually performed very, very well, considering the price point especially. And, one of the reasons why I bought it also was because of the real estate, the 7-inch screen versus always trying to use my little camera monitor. And I also wanted something larger than the small HD, which is like a 5 point, I think it's 5.5 or 5.2, but it's a smaller screen. Me having that larger real estate helps me with exposure and focus and just really being able to see what my footage looks like prior to getting back to upload it and editing it and then finding out there's an error. But it's performed without fail. And this monitor was about 158.99. This is what they list on their website, but you really can't find these now because I don't think they actually sell them anymore. So you'd have to look probably for it at some other third-party place. There's also a Field World monitor or variant of this monitor. It says Andycine and Field World are like the same. Uh, Comes with a few items. Comes with the mini HDMI cable, or yeah, that's a mini, and then a sunshade, a mount for the hot shoe, and then there's a charger. And that's really it. Really bare bones, but once again, you're paying 158. The next one up, and by the way, I'm going to show you how these perform later on in this review. I actually have them all set up right here, and I'm looking right at them, so you'll get to see what I see shortly. So yeah, moving on to the C7, and the C7 is, a little more expensive because now, you're going to have a touchscreen, right? It's going to be the same size, so the same form factor, 7-inch monitor. It's actually a lot brighter, and we'll talk about that when I get to the next part of the review. But it really is a great monitor too. And yeah, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. In the box, it comes with a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, even though the case is on there, that picture doesn't do this case justice. This is like a hard pack. It actually is really nice. And then inside of it, there's like a couple of different compartments, one of which is zippered. You can see there. And then here you have a little placeholder, a little thing so you could put, like I have manuals in there right now. But then it comes with all these other things. Plus, it comes with a battery, a USB cable, and it actually comes with the hot shoe adapter is actually a bracket that can actually go around, the monitor and allow the monitor to swivel up and down. So really great idea, and it's great that they package this stuff. But granted, you are paying more, but you kind of get what you pay for. So $255, so a little less than $100 more, I feel is pretty good value. And then the last one I'm going to talk about, because once again, I have it, I might as well go ahead and throw it in here, and that's going to be the Ninja Atomos. Ninja Atomos 5, it's $5.99 now, or $5.95, depending on where you buy it from. And it's a little bit different because not only is it a touchscreen, but it also adds the recorder. And I use this primarily to record all my videos. I pipe stuff into it, as a matter of fact. The way I have it set up right now, yeah, it's going into the recorder and then out to the other two monitors. So it just makes sense for me to actually throw this in here because I do use it for everything. Love the screen. The screen isn't as large as the Andycine, and to me, that's where both of those kind of excel because I have more real estate. But the Ninja Atomos can do a lot. Like, for instance, I'm recording with the A5100 right now, and because it doesn't have an external audio, I'm actually getting the external audio from the Rode mic that's hooked into my Ninja. And yeah, so it actually takes a camera like this and makes it even more amazing. By the way, I really like the A5100. So what I'm going to do is jump over to the other camera, which is my A7 III I have right here, and it's actually looking at all three monitors, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So just give me one quick moment. Okay, and we're back. So as I stated previously, I have a little bit different setup here, just so I can kind of show you how all these things look and function on the screen, really so you can see what I see. But what I have set up right now is I have an HDMI switch you can't see, but it's at the bottom here. And I have both of my cameras. The one that you're looking at right now is the A7 III with the Sigma 20 to 70 2.8. And then I also have the A5100 Sony, which is funny because I actually literally just got this lens in the mail. I wanted to try it out because I heard the autofocus was terrible. But this is the Tamron 24 millimeter 2.8 full frame lens for this one, but I'm using it over here just because. And then, so the signal from both of those cameras is going into my HDMI switch, which is down there, and then it's actually coming into my recorder. And the great thing about the Atomos and these other two screens is they all have HDMI outs. So I have it actually going directly over to, sorry, my battery is flashing here, so I think it's going to either probably switch over. There you go, it just switched over. But it actually goes over to the C7, and then the C7's out goes over to the T7, so we can all see the same picture. And I really just wanted to kind of highlight the differences between the screens. Up front, I can tell you this screen is way brighter. I mean, these screens are like 1,000 nits. This screen is 2,200 nits. It is insanely bright. These two screens work well outdoors. I've used them for that, but this one is like crazy, like super clear, like even on bright days, like it works really, really well. Now, the thing that I would say about this screen that I've noticed, and right now it's actually demonstrating it for me right now, is it does get a little warm. And maybe that's the reason why Andycine, when they designed it, they didn't put it inside of a metal case. They put it inside of like plastic. I think it's like ABS plastic. Because the heat that actually comes from the screen is far greater than what I get from either one of these screens. And this is the touch screen, actually the Ninja. So the Ninja has that going forward, as well as it records. So there's even more heat that should be generated by this. But yeah, it's way hotter over here. Now, starting with the C7, what I'll tell you about the C7, or really sticking with it since this is the one I'm really going to focus on, is it's a beautiful screen. Looks fine. It has touch screens, but the thing about the touch screen is when I first got it, it was a little bit iffy. It was almost like I was touching it when I wasn't, so it was doing all these weird things. But it really hasn't done that since, and I don't know if it's because that was the first time I fired it up that it kind of had to work that mess out, but it seems to be working fine. But the one thing I will say is this screen is not as it's not as sensitive as this screen. So, you know, whatever they use over here for the Synaptics, I would like to believe that it's probably higher end because this screen where you're paying so much more. So really the Ninja is more like a really like a newer smartphone. This one is just okay, you know, but it does work well because the features, even though there are a lot of things that it does, you can access everything fairly simply. So let's just start. If you double tap the screen, you're going to get a menu here on the side. You can select, and then you can just go through, and then it'll just give you, you know, your different options. So right now, focus assist was on. I'm going to turn that back off. I actually have a short key for this as well. So let me go back down here, turn it off, and then you can just work your way through. So if you look at the top here, you'll notice there are also keys up here. So all my keys are programmed for various things, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But there's also this button. If you press this button in, you'll actually get the other menu, and you can scroll through, and then when you find the one that you want, you just basically press the button again, and it selects it. So it's just a wheel that you can just depress. And then if you decide, hey, you want to turn it off. And the same thing happens if you decide that you want to see, and this is what I'm saying. If you decide that you want to use this menu, you can still use the wheel. So it's the same sort of setup. Now I use shortcut keys, and it's mainly because on my T7 I have shortcut keys. And monitors, or I should say studio cameras that I've worked with before, when we were doing broadcasts, we actually had monitors like this. They were really simple field monitors because the cameraman, we were really in charge of like the framing and taking our instructions from the director. So the director, could tell us because they're in the back and they're doing editing after the fact too, but they can tell us when our shots aren't, right, like if the exposure is being missed or, we need to move or they want us to follow someone or whatever. So, but it's good to have a larger screen as a cameraman because then you can actually see a larger picture and it helps you also maintain that proper exposure and it helps you with the focus and framing. So, yeah, it's a really great device. So this monitor in particular, we never really had touchscreens because the way our cameras are set up there, they're so gigantic. The monitor is a little bit further away and a lot of times it's mounted on the top. So it's just not convenient for us to, use the monitor or to touch the monitor. So what I normally used to do is I would program shortcut keys and then, before we get started, I would actually press the thing that I want. So if I wanted to have grid square, I could. If I wanted, focus peaking, there you go. I would actually always leave focus peaking on, so then the director's not telling me, "Hey, dude, you're out of focus." And then, false colors, that would just be one of those ones I would turn it on in the very beginning, check exposure, and then turn it back off, and then go back to doing my job and, moving the camera around. By the way, there's two different types of false colors on this device. Um, the other neat thing about the C7 that I actually really enjoy is the fact that it does have two batteries. And as you saw when this video started, because this is like my second take, one dies, the other one just takes over. And because it is a touchscreen and it does a lot more things, it actually it will go through the battery faster than the T7. The T7 just kind of sips the battery and it's really, really nice. Uh, Getting into the things that I'm not really a huge fan of right now, it doesn't have the quarter thread on the top. You'll notice I like to mount my cameras a lot of times on top of my monitors versus the other way around where people are mounting these on the hot shoe. Well, the A5100 doesn't have a hot shoe, so you can't do that. There are other options that have other brackets, but this just makes a lot more sense for me and it's real simple. I don't have one up here to do that with, but they did put them on the side. So I could use my small arm, or excuse me, my small rig arm, and or any of my articulating arms, something like this, or I can't find the other one. It's somewhere around here. Oh, actually, I'm using it right now to mount the light up here. But I could use something like that to actually mount, whatever it is I want to mount. So at least they give me some threads here. And then of course I have one on the bottom, but they all have that. Um, and then the HDMI cable is a little weird for me still because this one kind of has a little bend because I have it on my mini Manfrotto tripod. So I prefer having these on the side. They're more out of the way for me, but I understand why this might be more beneficial for someone else who maybe mounts it on a hot shoe and they just want to run it straight down, shortest cable as possible into the camera or wherever they're routing the signal to. Like I said before, this does have two HDMI cables, and right now, actually, this is the third one in the chain because I have it going through the T7 from my Ninja Atomos, and then from the T7, it's going here. But right next to it is another HDMI cable. There's also a space for SDI because there's an SDI version of this monitor. This isn't it, but if it was it, you would actually see the SDI ports over here. And we already talked about the dual batteries, so I think that is actually going to do it for the features of the monitor. Like I said, when I started using the only issue I've had so far is the touchscreen, and really it's going to burn through the battery a lot faster, but that's to be expected. One of the things I'll probably do if I do continue to use it, and I'll continue to test it, but if I'm using it more or less like inside versus outside, it'll probably just run off of AC. Now, it did not come with the AC adapter, the FP adapter, like the Atomos did. So it means I may have to pick one up, but it just makes more sense because once again, it will burn through these batteries fairly quickly. And I forget which ones I have in here. I'll flip this around. Yeah, I don't remember. These are some pretty large NPFs, and like I said, it just went through one of them without. I should say, it just went through one of them, and this is only the second take. Let me see. I think that's it. As far as features are concerned, I'll throw those up on the screen, but It does more than the T7. So you can do things like low LUTs, and then you can also export those LUTs to another screen so you can actually see what it looks like. Once again, you do have your 4K. They're both 1080p resolution screen. Really, all these screens are 1080p resolution, but they accept and they output a 4K signal. And I know that the name is a little misleading since they are Andycine 4K, but that's what it's referring to. The throughput of that signal that's coming from your camera, that's in 4K. Just looking through here just to see if there's anything else that's notable to mention. I already talked about the nits, so yeah, I think that's it. There's actually a headphone jack on this monitor. There isn't one on this monitor. And really, that's so you can actually adjust the sound that's coming out of the monitor. So if you were actually monitoring the sound, or if you were sending the sound somewhere else, you wanted to bump the sound up, you can actually do that with this monitor. And the way it actually works is so if you just tap up or down, left or right, you're going to get this shortcut menu. So we'll do the backlight first since that's the one I tap. And then you can just scroll. Sorry, there you go. So you would just scroll up and down to do the adjustment of the backlight. And then the volume is the other way. So there you go. All right, I think that's it. So if you got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Click like, subscribe, and Agent Fit signing out.